from your local election headquarters. This is Politics Today with Jackie Kingston.
The Amarillo City Council is taking its first steps in deciding where City Hall should be located, where they could go from here while keeping the existing City Hall functioning. And a local family is back after leaving Afghanistan past the August 31st deadline. Their story of escape as the Taliban took over. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Welcome back. The Amarillo City Council is taking its first steps in deciding where City Hall should be located after backtracking from its previous proposed funding plan. The council is looking into a handful of options and assessing which will best suit our city. The council withdrew its intent to issue certificates of obligation to fund the project late last month. Now, as Politics Today's Kaylee Green reports, the city and council are trying to decide where to go from here while keeping the existing City Hall functioning for now.
It's back to square one for the Amarillo City Council, choosing whether to stay in the 55-year-old existing City Hall building, renovate existing property like the Amarillo Hardware building, or start new construction.
Do you want a short or long-term fix in our existing facility, or do you want a long-term fix in a different facility? So there's a lot of things for them to consider. There's a lot of different funding mechanisms and mixes that we can use to provide the capital to do the project.
Amarillo City Manager Jared Miller says for now, they're just keeping the existing building running without making any major investments.
Knowing that we might be moving and even tearing this down. So we're going to spend as little as possible while maintaining the best posture we possibly can to make sure that this is going to serve us at least for the very, very short term, which would be through the winter and into next year.
The city is also safeguarding the building for winter.
But you can never know for sure when you're talking about a building of this age and systems of this age.
Some of these items are getting to the point where we could experience catastrophic failure. We almost did at the big freeze. We were actually 3 days away from not being able to keep City Hall warm enough. Had we not been able to do that, we would have froze every pipeline in City Hall, and City Hall would have been shut down.
Moving forward, the council will have to decide what's best for the city.
Nobody wants to pay for a City Hall, I get that, and nobody wants to gild the lily with some super fancy City Hall. However, at the same time, you have to have a building where you conduct the business of the city. And at some point, they do wear out, and this one has served us well, and maybe we can make it last longer. But that's something that council is going to give us guidance on.
The city's Director of Facilities and Capital Projects, Jerry Danforth, says once the council makes a decision, they'll get ready to get started very quickly. Miller says the city has seen a preference for City Hall to stay in downtown so it can service all of Amarillo. As multiple problems face city parks, the Amarillo Parks and Recreation Department started working on a master plan to address those issues over the past couple of years. Politics Today's Jack Kessler has more on the master plan and what residents can expect moving forward.
Director of Parks and Recreation at MIG Consulting, Cindy Mendoza, says this master plan is a 10-year plan with 8 guiding principles to help the city stay on its goal of maintaining and sustaining parks in the area. Amarillo Parks and Recreation Park Board Chair John Ingerson says this master plan is a good starting place for the City Council.
Okay, how do we communicate to our council and to our city what the needs are? And that really knowing that was the solution for kind of moving forward is to identify what our needs were and to formulate kind of a strategy on how to get there. And that's really what we believe the master plan is a strategy on how to provide Amarillo with a great parks and recreation goals, visions, it's all in there.
City Manager Jared Miller adds the document will help guide the city when it comes to the Parks and Recreation Department and where to allocate funds.
It's very much an overarching guideline for what are our priorities with regard to facilities, with regard to infrastructure, maintenance initiatives.
Director of Amarillo Parks and Recreation, Michael Kashuba, says this master plan has been driven by the community.
We are basing it off of is all of the feedback we've received. I know early on in the process we heard people say, why would I participate? My voice doesn't matter. Actually it does. That's really what is driving this document.
Kashuba says they plan on bringing the master plan back to the Amarillo City Council by the end of this month, September, for a vote. Kashuba adds they're hoping to apply for some grants from the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department to help with paying for that master plan. Potter and Armstrong counties are beginning a new indigent defense system aimed at providing more lawyers for those in need. Monday, the Potter County Commissioners Court approved a final plan. Now, Politics Today's Kaylee Green joins us again as the counties are preparing to implement that brand new system.
In addition to approving the Indigent Defense Plan, the Potter County Commission also approved an oversight board to govern operations and 9 members. These changes come after a report back in 2019 found many defendants went through the courts without even talking with the lawyer.
The importance of the Independent Oversight Committee is to create an arm's length distance between the county and this system, so there's no undue influence for financial purposes or whatever between the office and the county and the courts too as well.
The court approving the work of the advisory committee after more than a year of planning. PRPC Regional Services Director John Keel says a grant from the Texas Indigent Defense Commission will cover 50% of the cost for the first 4 years.
The cost for setting up the office is estimated around $850,000, of which TIDC will pick up 50%. Going into this next year when they're fully staffed and for a full 12-month period, it's going to be about $1.5 million.
Keel says the program will help avoid costs for the county later. Potter County Judge Nancy Tanner says the new system will help meet the needs of indigent defendants.
We have 510 individuals in our jail today. So out of the 510, a big percentage of those will not be able to hire an attorney. This will help them get the attorney they need, get the representation they need to face what they've done or not done, and get them out of jail and get them back to their normal life.
The system will cover Potter and Armstrong counties to begin, but Keel is hopeful it will expand.
I see the potential for this serving eventually 26 counties, not just 2 counties, because everybody feeds off the same pool of lawyers in this region, and they're all pretty well stretched thin.
Keel says the Oversight Board now needs to hire 2 directors. That board will meet with the Commissioners Court once a year to present a proposed budget. Keel says they're hopeful that this plan will correct the shortcoming detailed in that 2019 report about Potter County's justice system. The Secretary of State sits in the hot seat on Capitol Hill. Coming up, we'll get a look inside the hearing into the Biden administration's exit from Afghanistan. Also, an Amarillo woman was one of the first Americans who escaped Afghanistan after the August 31st deadline. What she had to say during our in-studio interview. I'm Jackie Kingston. You're watching Politics Today from your local election headquarters. The fallout from Afghanistan continues. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken facing questions from House lawmakers last week over the administration's withdrawal from that country. Members of the committee asking why Americans and Afghan allies were left behind. Politics Today Washington correspondent Kelly Meyer has the secretary's response.
This was an unmitigated disaster of epic proportions.
Republicans grilled Secretary of State Anthony Blinken over the administration's evacuation from Afghanistan and hit the secretary for not showing up for the hearing in person.
My understanding is that the House is not in session, and that's why the session has been...
I'm right here, Secretary, says the chairman, says the ranking member. We're here.
Blinken appeared virtually before the House Foreign Affairs Committee Monday and defended the decision to leave Afghanistan.
There's no evidence that staying longer would have made the Afghan security forces or the Afghan government any more resilient.
In the first day of back-to-back hearings, Secretary Blinken says former President Trump's agreement with the Taliban left President Biden with few options.
President Biden immediately faced the choice between ending the war or escalating it.
Democrats say Republicans are wrong to ignore the role of the previous administration.
Did the Trump administration leave on your desk a pile of notebooks as to exactly how to carry out that plan?
We inherited a deadline. We did not inherit a plan.
Several Republicans and Democrats asked why American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies were left behind.
The most important promise in our military is no man left behind, no one left behind. But you broke this promise.
Blinken says there are about 100 Americans still left, and the State Department is in touch with all of them, working to get them home. Reporting in Washington, I'm Kelly Meyer.
So with some help from a member of Congress and an ex-contractor and his team, Miriam, an Amarillo mother, and her family were among the first Americans to escape Afghanistan after August 31st. Now she's sharing her story with an in-studio interview with Politics Today's Kaylee Green.
U.S. citizen Miriam Rahim and her 3 children were visiting Afghanistan when the Taliban took over.
My family's out there, my parents, my dad was sick, I want to visit to him. And after 20 days, we tried to early come back home. So we're looking for the tickets. The tickets were not, sold out, all of them, everything. So before that, everything happened,
They went to Kabul to try to get a flight home.
Still, we need some help from State Department. We get phone call, and they tell us we go to airport and the gate, just show your passport, they let you go in. And we stay like 16 hours, we stay like every night, like 8 hours, 9 hours, and nobody's help us.
Miriam's husband asked Congressman Ronnie Jackson for help.
Her husband, who was here still in Amarillo, was obviously worried about his wife and his children, and they couldn't get out, as soon as the Taliban took over Kabul.
He says they immediately reached out to the State Department.
Gave them all the information we had. We had copies of the passports. We had everything that we could possibly find. Got it to the State Department. We got no results, nothing.
With increasing danger, Jackson called Corey Mills, a former contractor, and his team, who planned to make a rescue in Kabul.
And they literally had an aircraft that was circling the airfield, and they were told by the State Department and by the U.S. military they could not land the aircraft.
While Jackson's office worked, Miriam and her family continued to try to leave from Kabul.
I showed the Taliban the passport, they always told me, if nobody called your name from inside the airport, we don't let you go in, the first time. And the second time I go ask him, the same time, brother, I will speak Pashto, how you can help me so I can go in. They say, we can, we can. Do you understand me or not? And they pull the guns and put my heads, That's 2 times they did to me.
At that point, we got word that the Taliban were already going around in Miriam's neighborhood looking for her and her family. They knew she was an American citizen. They were asking neighbors and stuff where they're at.
Mills and his team were able to take Miriam and her family to a safe house 13 hours away in Mazar-e-Sharif.
At that point, there were 6 planes on the ground, fueled, had crews ready to go. The manifests were put together.
But the Taliban would not let the flights leave. Mills' team took them to the border of another country for safety.
They let Miriam and her family across, and then we were able to get them on a flight and get them back home, and now we have them here, so just glad to have them home.
Miriam is thankful to be alive, her kids driving her to get back home no matter what.
Thank you again for everybody, to help me, and especially Corey is, for me, is hero.
It's a harrowing story. Miriam also confirmed the State Department has called her 3 times since last Friday, September 10th, after she had already returned to the U.S. She said they asked where she is in Afghanistan and didn't seem to know that she was already back in country. Congressman Jackson also says they received little help from the State Department, but he says it tried to take credit for that rescue. Some Texas students who enjoyed virtual learning may now have the option to do it again. Coming up, who qualifies for virtual learning under a new Texas law? We haven't talked a whole lot about COVID in this show this morning, but we do want to mention it now. The state of New Mexico is extending its indoor mask requirements because of it. The state requires that a mask be worn indoors by everyone. This order is in effect until at least October 15th. Governor Michelle Lujan Grisham says she's implementing mask requirements to stem the rising tide of COVID-19 infections and hospitalizations in that state. More students are able to opt into remote learning under a new Texas law that allocates funding for those virtual programs. However, school districts and their students have to meet certain requirements. The state will only pay for online learning for up to 10% of a district's total enrollment. Those students must have gotten a C grade or higher on core classes and passed their STAR exam in 2020. Teachers in the state-funded virtual programs will have to teach exclusively on the remote platforms, while other teachers in the district will remain all in person. The funding for the schools goes until September 2023. That's when lawmakers will reevaluate to see if it's something that they want to continue. Amarillo College is partnering with Texas Woman's University for a new teacher pipeline program. The partnership allows students to complete TWU's online coursework for a bachelor's degree while student teaching at local schools. Officials hope this program will increase the number of teachers serving students throughout the High Plains. Those 2 colleges celebrated the collaboration agreement at AC's Washington Street campus. Texas Governor Greg Abbott tries to shut down 6 points of entry along our southern border, and for a few hours this week, it looked like it might happen until the federal government stepped in. Coming up, we have the latest from Austin. Monday, tomorrow, marks the start of state lawmakers' third special session. Politics Today's Monica Madden gives us a rundown of what to expect from Austin this time around.
After two dramatic special sessions stalled by Democrats' effort to thwart an elections bill affecting how Texans vote, lawmakers will return for a third special session to decide where their vote will count. The process of redrawing legislative and congressional districts is bound to be another political battle, not just between parties, but also within them. Republicans will aim to draw maps to keep their political dominance in both the state legislature and congressional delegation, which is growing by 2 seats. 95% of Texas's growth since the 2010 census was thanks to people of color. So Democrats say their mission will be ensuring those groups are represented fairly. Also hanging overhead is still the task of deciding how to allocate the $16 billion in federal COVID relief dollars. And Governor Abbott is asking lawmakers to consider whether Texas or local governments can mandate COVID-19 vaccines, and if so, what exemptions might apply. Lawmakers also will resurrect legislation that would require transgender student athletes to participate in sports corresponding with their biological sex. And at any given point, the governor can add more policy requests to this 30-day session. At the Capitol, Monica Madden, back to you.
Monica, thanks. The governor Thursday tried to order DPS to shut down 6 ports of entry along our southern border to fight a massive influx of migrants in recent days, but it was quickly stopped by the Biden administration. It's the latest in his border security efforts, which all began earlier this year with Operation Lone Star. But as Politics Today's Maggie Glenn reports, while the operation is catching plenty of migrants who are not supposed to be here, it's also causing headaches and delays for local officials.
Get ready to come up.
DPS has been assisting with Operation Lone Star since March. Now they're focusing on ports of entry.
The migrants are coming to the POEs, so we're going to link up with our partners and we're going to shut down those POEs. We're going to make it difficult for anybody to come across.
Over the summer, the governor directed troopers to arrest migrants for criminal trespassing.
We initiated that initiative on July 20th, focusing in the Del Rio, Valverde County, and Kennedy County areas. We have an infrastructure in place. We're arresting 20 to 30 to 40 a day.
But local communities are dealing with the consequences. The Valverde County Jail has been hovering near capacity for weeks.
Just make the blanket representation that you're going to arrest anybody for criminal trespass who steps foot on private property perhaps is a little overreaching.
Valverde's county attorney, David Martinez, says he interpreted DPS Sergeant Steve McCraw's direction to only arrest those with criminal intent, so he's choosing to dismiss some cases.
The spirit of his words were, hey, we're not looking to arrest those people that are looking to turn themselves in to the authorities to seek an asylum claim. Well, if that were true, I wouldn't have 250 files sitting on my desk.
That puts county officials juggling the state's operation with their own local safety.
It's still a challenge to try to keep up and to try to ensure that we can continue to process people in our jail who are not a part of Operation Lone Star to ensure, again, public safety.
So in July, the governor tried to alleviate some of that overcrowding. He ordered the Texas Department of Criminal Justice to convert the Briscoe unit into a jail to house migrants arrested during Operation Lone Star. That has now extended to another unit, the Segovia unit in Edinburgh. So far, there are 833 migrants detained in the Briscoe unit, 42 in Segovia. Monday, Texas Governor Greg Abbott signed the Damon Allen Act on bail reform into law. Damon Allen was a Texas DPS trooper who was killed on Thanksgiving Day 2017 during a routine traffic stop. The governor says the suspect should have still been behind bars. The act requires judges to look at a person's criminal record before they set bail and prohibits the release of those with a history of violent crimes on personal or cash bond. Opponents worry that it will have unintended consequences like overcrowded jails if low-income people can't post bond and have to wait until their trial.
The local jails, the cities, the county jails, I mean, they're going to be filled up. This is going to end up, falling on the taxpayers. The state, did not appropriate funding for that, additional funding.
Republicans insist, however, the legislation is needed to keep dangerous people in jail while their cases are pending. The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers just completed its final proposal of the Texas coastal study after Hurricane Ike devastated our coast back in 2008. It's meant to fight flooding with a combination of gray infrastructure, including things like seawalls, levees, and pumps, and green infrastructure, and that includes restoring ecosystems along the coast to build natural resilience. It would take 20 years to complete. There's a $29 billion price tag on it. We'll keep you apprised of where that goes from here. We'll wrap things up right after this. Thanks, as always, for spending part of your Sunday morning with us here on Politics Today. Don't forget that you can follow along with me on social media. I'm on Facebook. You can find me there. I'm also on Twitter. I love your feedback. Had a controversial hot take this week. Donuts are bad. They just are. Stay up with all the latest political news with us this week on our website, myhighplains.com. Thanks for being here. Don't forget to make it a point to get vaccinated if you have not already. That's how we beat coronavirus together. That's the way we do it. Thanks for being here. See you Sunday.